Welcome all of those who are here or in the remote. I know we already have Ginger, and perhaps later Jude can tell us who is joining. And I would like to welcome all of you to the workshop 52 about remote participations, the principles and realities. And the first idea we should start talking about as an introductory remark is why are we talking about remote participation? And in a much broader way, why are we worrying about e-participation? So it is a way that we put all of the discussions in the IGF into reality. That's the main idea we would like to have here today, and to exchange not only experience but ideas, how to put forward some of the principles we started raising in Nairobi in the last IGF. When we are talking about inclusive, open, and transparent internet, for instance, we are also talking about e-participation in its heart. We are talking about tools and features and all the ways we can bring all together in the most collaborative way. And certainly we are not talking about a single path or a simple solution. It's a living and learning experience all the way around. And that's what the IGF remote participation has been all the way through. Since 2008, we really have meaningful participation, remote participation in IGFs. It started like with a platform with just few tools, and we had like 8 hubs, and then it started growing and growing, and now this year we have 62 hubs. This is amazing. It's a really outreach to mostly developing countries that we are seeing and that are following and exchanging and really participating in the IGF. That's one of the main ideas we are probably discussing in the side room, the main stock and the taking stock and the way forward. But let me go through some of the points we have learned in this process during the IGF. We have Bernard Sadak here, one of the main key assets that we can take from the IGF remote experience, and he won't let me lie, that we have gone through some steps. First, in 2008, we had an exchange of ideas how to start, which platform should we be using. And one of the first preference we had was an open source platform. But we couldn't go through it for the next IGFs because the open source that were available by then were not able to get the quality we were expecting for. And that's one of the issues I hope the open source community can take. We have speakers representing them. Then we do have the local infrastructure. I believe that here we face some of the issues that the local infrastructure can be taken and should be taken into account in the preparation process. But also, we need to have like training sessions. We didn't have for 2008, and we started having by then, because you need to be familiar with the tools, whether you are a remote panelist, whether you are a remote hub. And also, we need to have a remote moderator in each room. This is really important. We have learned that it doesn't matter if you take a platform, you put it on, and there is nobody to share it in the room. So there is nobody experienced or at least familiar to share with the room. So this has been also an important lesson learned in this process. And one surprising and positive, in a positive way, learning lessons that we had was the captioning. When we start doing the captioning that you can see, well, here on my left, is that it brings us accessibility. It allows for example, those who cannot listen, who are deaf, to follow the IGF. And it used to have only in the main sessions, and now it is in all workshops. So this is also, as I was saying, not only remote participation, but the real and meaningful e-participation that this process is allowing. So this is sorry. This is remote participation is a pillar, but it should not be taken as the single tool. And we do have also tools and much more used these days, like social media. And this might be, I don't want to force like interventions, but this might be the next step we need to be looking for in the IGFs. We really have a hashtag, for example, in Twitter, but it is not being read or it's not being shared in the room. So how can we came up with this and integrating a platform? Perhaps I will leave for you to discuss, but just to give you a seed of what we can be sharing. And now going back to Nairobi last year, we tried to raise some principles that would be the main guidelines, not only guidelines, but in fact principles. Well, this states for everything. And this is available at the Etherpad. I'm going to show it. Bernard, can you show the moderator computer? In the right direction. I'm going to read it either, but anyway, it's https IGF remote participation.etherpad.mozilla.org/1. Oh, sorry, I forgot the slash in the beginning. And the password is IGF capital letters 2012 WS and capital letters 52. So please join all of you who have connection, so we can go through these principles. And this is an invitation. I'm going to read the 6 principles we came up, which are inclusiveness, remote participations should be provided in as many languages as possible, the multilingualism issue, equality of participation. So we are not talking only on physical participation, that you can be here and you can raise your hand and you have the word probably, but also that the remote should have the equal participation. The 4th principle is scale and stability. The 5th principle, providing platforms. And the 6th principle, multiple platforms and media should be used for remote participation. Web conference, webcase, chat, Twitter, and social media. So this is the last one I was mentioning. So we have this invitation for you to, during this workshop, so we can, that we work under these principles to put them into reality, into the real world perspective, and what we have done and what we can do to effectively achieve its goals. So it's time for me to shut up. I think I've taken my moderator grants right now, and listen to the experts we have here who will probably give you a lot of ideas and the big picture. I would like to start with one of the co-organizers, Jinder Pak from Diplo Foundation, and she joined us remote, but she's also shared an audio where she's going to tell us about this process of the remote participation in the IGF. So allow me just 1 second to put it on. Can you hear? Okay, sorry, just a second. So just while we are here, just would like to say another word, that this is, at least as far as I know, the first workshop that has all the remote panelists joining us, whether they are in the WebEx, the platform, or they have sent us the video and the audio to feed in. And the idea was really to walk the talk, and while we are talking about the participation, just to try to give you the scenario and live. So you have them sharing here. You have the Etherpad as a collaborative document. You have the set of tools that are available, and we can try to move on in the real perspective. We do have our remote moderator assistant, Lila, and we do have Ulker Barionov from. Forgive me the. You can say later.
Good morning, everybody.
Our hostess from Azerbaijan. So please, let's hear Ginger.
Good morning, everybody. From freezing cold Edgerton, Wisconsin in the United States at 1 in the morning in order to join you in this session in Baku. And very happy to be here. Right there, though, we do have one of the great disadvantages of remote participation. I am suffering from remote jet lag as I deal with a time zone that is not in accordance with all the people around me. But I'm very happy to do it in order to have the opportunity to share with you, and I'm really glad to be with you. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for joining us on such an important issue. I'm going to start with a little philosophy here. If a tree falls in the woods and nobody's there to hear it, does it actually make a sound? Or I could even bring in Schoenberger's cat. If I'm a remote participant and I'm watching the webcast, but no one in the room acknowledges my presence, and no one in the room even knows I'm there, am I? Do I even exist? I have to admit, sometimes I wonder. I can certainly say that that is not remote participation. It is remote observation, and it's no different than watching TV. That is not the purpose of remote participation. We want real participation and real engagement, which is a process that we are moving towards. As Raquel already explained, we have made great advances, but we do still need to work on it. One of the big problems being that very often you can sit in on a session, watch a session, participate in a session, even type in your questions and comments, and still have the people in the room say something like, what we need now is to have every single person in this room follow up on X, Y, Z, without realizing that by that very terminology, they are excluding those of us who are not in the room. We need to still raise awareness. We've come a long way. We have institutionalized remote participation. What the IGF Secretariat and Bernard and his team have done is amazing. But we still have a very basic level of raising consciousness, raising awareness to every person in the room and outside of the room who is attending it, and particularly in the integration and design strategy of the moderations and the panels to make sure that remote participation is fully engaged. I'm going to enjoy listening to the rest of the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ginger, and I believe she's online right now, so please go ahead and tell us if you need it, to jump in. So, and this is a very interactive session. We hope to be, so please go ahead if you have anything in your mind, and I believe we should not have like the traditional speech, so just jump in. And now let's hear from Mukar. Before I give her the microphone, I want to just thanks for this wonderful city and country. This is a lovely people. So I would like, as the hostess as in Azerbaijan, to thank Zulkar for the welcoming. I'm sure we are all pleased to meet in Baku.
Thank you, Raquel. I'm Ilkar Bayramova from Baku, and I'm really very happy to meet all my friends, and which I already working many years, and I know them, and I'm happy that you liked my city, and welcome to Baku again. So I'm going to speak about remote participation in Azerbaijan. Remote participation is not very often used in Azerbaijan, although it started 10 years ago. And actually, IGF is the first event which we have remote participation, as far as I know. But before, we used it in different conferences, and we are using it time to time at my university where I'm employed. This is Azerbaijan University of Languages. So it started with the NATO Silk project and with boldly video meetings. There was limited accessibility because they used this Tandberg equipment. And afterwards we started to participate, practice it within our conferences in Nakhchivan State University, located in geographical exclave. University was connected to high-speed internet. We have connected whole university campus to Wi-Fi mesh. And remote participation also played a big role in my own life. And for example, last year, first time I was participating remotely in IGF Nairobi, and it was really very amazing that I couldn't go myself physically, but I could join to some sessions, workshops, which was very interesting for me. And I think all youth in Azerbaijan, they should learn how to take part in these remote workshops, remote sessions. We already started it because we, as I told, at my university we invite students from different universities of Azerbaijan, and they see how it works. And as far as I know, we have also Facebook page for this year IGF Baku on Facebook, and people can join just to take part in different workshops, and they can say all about they think, or they want to suggest how it should work. And I see some discussions already on Facebook. And also it's very good, I think, for regions of Azerbaijan, because we have many universities in regions, and they don't have very good access to internet, and they don't have all equipment which they need to join. And it's also low speed of internet in regions of Azerbaijan. And I think all this social media and remote participation gives a lot of how to say this priorities just to join. They can use there is, by statistics, we have 110 mobiles for 100 people, so they use their mobiles for Twitters and for Facebook, and I think it's very good opportunity to join remotely via mobiles at least, because of this low speed. And what I wanted to say, it's also about civil society. How civil society joined to this remote participation. As I told, we don't have access for everybody because of they are living in regions far, and we think we have to promote it among our youth who are living in regions. And as we are going, we have ISOC chapter information, and we see one of our tasks to involve youth and to promote the remote participation tools for joining different events, even they can't go, or if they can't take part in main sessions, or I don't know if they can join us physically. And I think it will be our one main task to promote this e-participation. And I think we have questions. Okay, thank you. But I can answer all your questions if you have any of them. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Oker. And that's very interesting. I think you brought another step, a previous step for remote participation, e-participation, which is raising awareness. So we are talking as something already done, and we do have a long way to go. And I hope that IGF experience can bring you like new sharing to foster remote participation. In fact, what we have is Gary Leos trying to connect. Gary, I know you can hear me. I'm just going through, I'm just going to take Fernando Botelho video, and I believe I will take your words next because you are connected as the Dynamic Coalition. Okay, so just to let you know, and as I'm already introduction now, let's hear, we do have Fernando Botelho from the Dynamic Coalition on Access and Diversity, and he's going to talk to us about some of the accessibility steps that we need to take into remote participation, e-participation, and that's very interesting because you can see by the video, but Fernando is a blind guy, and so it's good to have him sharing with us. So can we put the video? Can everybody hear? Okay. We do have this kind of problem when we are doing live sessions. So let's go ahead. Okay. Let me go back.
Hello everyone, my name is Fernando Botelho, and it's a pleasure to be contributing to this workshop. Remote.
Sorry, something happened.
Hello everyone, my name is Fernando Botelho, and it's a pleasure to be contributing to this workshop. Remote participation, reality and principles. My apologies for not participating live, and my thanks to Andrea Sachs, to Ginger Pack, to all the organizers for allowing me to contribute to this event. Hello everyone, my name is Fernando Botelho, and it's a pleasure to be contributing to...
I'm sorry. Sorry. Let's take Gary instead, and while it takes this video from Fernando, can you put Gary on, or should we move on? Gary, the remote.
Hello?
Hi, Judy.
Hi.
You wanna speak? Okay.
Ginger Pack, to all the organizers for allowing me to contribute to this.
I'm sorry, guys. We said we would put into reality, so you are just showcasing it.
Hello everyone, my name is Fernando Botelho, and it's a pleasure to be contributing to this workshop. Remote participation, reality and principles. My apologies for not participating live, and my thanks to Andrea Sachs, to Ginger Pack, to all the organizers for allowing me to contribute to this event. We are going to be talking about the intersection between disability issues, cost, and interoperability. How important are these elements in terms of... Hello everyone, my name is Fernando Botelho. It's a pleasure.
I'm sorry, let's skip this part. No, I'm sorry, it's not working.
remote participation.
So let's take Judy's instead. Judy's is also from the Dynamic Coalition on access and disabilities, and I think she can share with us the importance not only from accessibility but also from the open source side that we were talking about. That was an asset from the IGF experience. So please, Judy, if you can share with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Raquel. I would like to begin first with acknowledging our participants who are remotely. Andrea, could you please say hi?
Hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, Andrea, thank you. Team?
Hello, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Gary? Gary, could you please say hi?
You mean Jerry?
Yes, Jerry.
Jerry, can you say hi to us? We are hearing you here. Let's go ahead.
He has just sent me an email. He's trying to contribute, but I don't know if it's working. Judy, we had difficulty yesterday getting him on. Is Bernard in the room? Because I don't know what Bernard did yesterday, but Bernard needs to maintain and watch this particular session also because he might be able to solve the video problem.
Okay. We'll find Bernard, Andrea. Thank you.
So anybody else, Judy?
Ginger, could you please say hi?
Ginger might be sleeping. Ginger?
Ginger, hello, good morning. Can you hear me? The problem I have here with speaking live is that it's quite a ways to the other side of the world and I have a terrible lag and I hear myself on echo. I'm very, very pleased to be here and good to see people in the room and people online. I do hope we will be able to raise some voices and concerns. I'm very pleased to see that the design of the workshop itself integrates remote participation. I know we have more people watching, listening, and others that hope to speak and intervene with their concerns. I'm very excited about the possibility that all of you will join us on the Etherpad. I noticed that we already do have a few comments, and Twitter has also been involved as part of the remote participation and activity of this panel. So we look forward to hearing your comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ginger. Alexandra?
Sorry, again, Alexandra, this is Andrea again. Alexandra's not able to attend the first part of the meeting as she has a commitment with ITU for the moment. She should join us later.
Okay.
Jerry has sent me an email. He is trying to participate, but it's not working very well. And I think I'm sending an email to Bernard right now to explain the video problem and also the problem perhaps with Jerry.
Hello, everybody. I'm here. I'm here.
You're there. Oh, you said, okay, great. Right, cool. I'll stop there. Okay, but we still need Bernard. I'm sending an email to Bernard to tell him the Jerry problem, and he can hear us. I'm not meaning to
Bernard is here.
Problem.
Okay, and also, I'm sorry, hello everybody. The server comes in and disappears. So I saw Fernando 3 times, and then it disappeared, and then again. So this is what we have here in Geneva. Okay. The server keeps getting interrupted. The servers of the WebEx. So I don't know what's happening. I saw Fernando 3 times and then off.
Okay.
But I can see the chat.
Jerry, thank you for Jerry. Sorry, Jerry. It's Andrea. Alexandra, sorry. I just going to ask for the remote. It's really good to have this conversation on the remote. We are here with our headphones and we are just it is just like if you were here in the mic. But we do need to have, if you can introduce yourselves each time so we can address properly. So Alexandra, Bernard is at the room. I think he's going to take you to take your concerns in the chat or by email, and we are trying to fix it. Of course, this is a real example of what we need to improve for next year, and mainly the accessibility. I know that Jerry is trying to talk to us in the chat, but since the platform does not allow him to use his tools, he is not going to join. But we do have Shadi Abu Zara who wants to share the accessibility issues. So please go ahead, and then I will call Judy again.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Shadi Abu Zara. I work with the World Wide Web Consortium, W3C. We're about 60 people who are distributed all over the world. So we use remote participation to carry out our work every day. And the way we do it, I mean, we do it to carry out work. So this is really part of our intrinsic work. And it is to make sure that we can include people who are using different computer systems, people who are using different setups, working in different locations with different bandwidth, you know, in a hotel room somewhere, or on a fixed high bandwidth area. And the way we do it is that we refer to open standards so that people can actually use different systems. We try not to lock ourselves into a single tool or a single platform, because as far as we are aware of, there isn't a single tool that accommodates all the different requirements, from operating system support to also accessibility requirements and so on. So for example, for chat, we use interrelay chat, which is an ancient protocol that is standardized by the IETF. But that it works very stably. It allows, there are many different tools and all sorts of different platforms. There are even web-based interfaces for that. So we have a server, a chat server that people can log into from, again, all over the world, each with their own clients. Also similarly, for audio, we actually use a teleconference bridge, but again with a VoIP interface that people can log in using their own SIP clients, or whatever protocols that they need to, and so on. So we don't try to approach the all-in-one solution, but protocols and formats that are open, that are available, that allow each person to access with whatever tools and clients that they need to use.
So they could be integrated with the other platforms, Shadi, because, for example, we're used when we're talking about remote participation, we're more familiar with the scenario where you have the video, you have the chat, you have all together. So you don't have to be skipping from window to another window. But then you were telling, of course, you do have separate solutions for addressing each problem. So if you need to read. But what do you think, or if you have another experience by having this merging of platforms?
Ideally, of course, if you have one web-based tool that works on all browsers, on all platforms, and provides all necessary features, for instance accessibility features, that would be great. But that's the issue, that we haven't found any that also allows open access. So even some of the tools that provide a lot of quality in their support, sometimes very often they're closed functionality, so it's difficult to access with additional clients for whatever reason. As promoters of the World Wide Web, we believe in open access, and that people should have you know, their own clients or their own browsers, if you so will, for whatever reason, and be able to access the content. So of course, it's unfortunate that you need to have different protocols, but we see that it works more stable, and we're able to carry out our work like this more successfully than trying to look for an all-in-one solution that we haven't found yet that really accommodates all our needs.
But that's possible, right? The all-in-one. It's the way we need to put effort on. That's too.
Standards exist that support that. So it's a matter really of pursuing that somebody develops a solution that builds on open source standards and also at the same time allows open access to the tool itself. So it's not an exclusive. But yeah, I'm sure if a tool is available that provides all this functionality, that this would have high demand.
Okay, thank you. And I would like to call to Bernard. Do we have the video solved? Okay.
Hello everyone, my name is Fernando Botelho, and it's a pleasure to be contributing to this workshop, Remote Participation, Reality and Principles. My apologies for not participating live, and my thanks to Andrea Sachs, to Ginger Pack, to all the organizers for allowing me to contribute to this event. We are going to be talking about the intersection between disability issues, cost, and interoperability. How important are these elements in terms of the remote participation of persons with disabilities, such as myself, in anything that happens remotely, be it education, work opportunities, or even social events. Cost is really important for everyone, not just for persons with disabilities, but this is especially important since about 80 to 90% of persons with disabilities live in developing countries. And even for those who are in wealthy economies, budget constraints, budget cuts are starting to make cost an issue as well for that population. Since 10 to 15% of any society is made up of persons with disabilities, there is an ethical obligation to include this population, and there is also a legal obligation due to laws, local laws, as well as the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Now, technology gives us an amazing potential. In the unfortunate reality is that that potential of inclusion is not always realized. The lack of interoperability, which means that systems that could work together, communicate between each other, are not always able to, is actually a design choice in most cases, not a technological issue. And why is this choice made? Well, incompatibilities are an artificial barrier to competition. And lack of competition or limits to competition are a way of preserving high profits and high prices, of course. Now, the issue of cost, or let's say competition, is really another way of saying that you're giving consumers, you're giving companies, you're giving governments a choice when they're making purchases. Once they have a choice, they are able to, there is competition. Once there is competition, prices go down. The essence of interoperability is really open protocols. It's really the ability for you to use a way of communicating without having to pay licenses, without having to ask for authorization. Once you implement this in law, once you make requirements in your procurement that force vendors to comply with a certain level of openness in the protocols that they are using, in the rules their software used to communicate with other software, then you have choice. then somebody who does not have the resources can use an open source implementation of a certain communication protocol. Somebody who has resources and maybe wants extra services can pay extra for that communication. So that choice is absolutely essential. To make it viable, you need some form of open protocol. And to do that, governments have to change the rules they have in terms of procurement. Large companies have to be smarter about their purchases of information technology. Anyways, I don't want to take too much time. I know there are many other contributors that are going to offer their comments. So I want to thank you for this opportunity to be part of this event in Baku, Azerbaijan, and for this to be part of this effort of including more and more persons in social, in employment and work-related and education-related initiatives through remote participation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fernando. I know you are not listening to us right now, but let be in the records that we appreciate your efforts to be here and to share with us. And now I would like to call someone who is not expecting, but certainly made part of these principles. And I'm going back to the Etherpad page, so we can also start building what we are discussing here. And Sebastian Bachelet is from the board of ICANN and also from the Public Participation Committee in ICANN. So Sebastian has been a really supporter of remote participation and has joined us last session in Nairobi, IGF Nairobi, in the construction of these collaborative principles. So please, Sebastian, if you can say a few words about putting the principles into reality and the experience you might share here. Right, sorry. It's coming up to you. And by the way, in the meaning of inclusiveness, for those who do not know, ICANN stands for Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. We do have a lot of acronyms for newcomers, so please go ahead, Sebastian, you have the mic.
Thank you. Okay. I didn't expect to be on spot like that. I think what you are doing it's very important because we know that we have still trouble to have the tools and to have the possibility to have a real online participation for many people. Then it's useful to try to solve those problems. What I think it could be even better will be to track when we have trouble and how we solve it, to have a guidebook to be used and to allow learning from one session to another one and from 1 year to another one, or even from one IGF from another one. One is could be national one or regional one or this annual one, and then it could be shared with other organizations like ICANN, but also like ISOC, and I am sure a lot of others. I was trying when I was at the IETF in Paris. We're talking about remote participation. I was trying to participate to this working group, but in fact. It was a little bit strange because they were trying to solve their own problem, and I wanted to have the IETF working on some bigger issue. Which tool, open format we can be used and can be used by all these organizations like IGF, ICANN, ISOC, and where we can input our needs. The needs of the three are not exactly the same, but if we can have one single tool it's not to say we need just one provider, but one single tool, because the learning of each and every tool it's quite long. For example, here we have to use WebEx. In ISOC it's also WebEx. Okay, I can decided to use Adobe Connect, and but even if you use a tool, there is no real work to help the people to learn and to share experiences on how to use it better. And we missed functionalities in each and every of those tools, and maybe some collaborative work could be done on that. I don't know if I answer your question, but that's some of my inputs, and I am ready to answer other questions if you have. But I hope that others will participate. Thank you very much, and thank you for attending this session.
That's perfect. Thank you, Sebastian. And I think you raised the issue about documentation. It's really worth give more efforts on this type of documentation. We do have some working in progress, but we are certainly have more room to improvement. And the functionality. It would be nice to have a single platform, but while we don't, we need to work. And if it's difficult, you raise one point that is in the principles list and in the description, which is remote participation is not about technology, it's about people. And we need to remind ourselves, because the interaction comes from social demand and not from the technological demand. And that's an important one outcome of the principles that we can be working with, and if you want to share with us. So before I take, I know that Norbert is calling for the word, but before, let's listen. I believe that we are able to listen from Bijana, who, and she served as a hub organizer for many times, I think 3 times, right, Bernard? And he can correct me. And I've been talking about hubs, but I'm not sure if everyone is familiar, so allow me just 3 seconds to tell you. Hubs are local meetings that we brought up for the IGF model, in which they can follow the remote participation, the webcast, the chat. They can intervene in the chat, but they also can do a local agenda. And that's an important issue, an important tool, that model, model is a better word. So the hubs model is important because it brings the global discussion into local agenda, and also the local agenda into the global. So just to let you know. So let's hear Bijana and her experience in the setting up the hub.
Hello everyone, my name is Biljana Glišović-Milić from Serbia, and I want to share with you experience from my country. We started with Belgrade Hub in 2008, and we followed IGF in India. We wanted to build awareness in my country about the internet governance issues, and also to start national discussion about our problems that we have. From that year, we are organizing Hub each year. 2 years ago, we managed to organize Eurodig in Belgrade. And from last year, we have our Internet Day, where we are discussing about the main internet governance issues that are important for Serbia. Organizing Hub can be easy. You need to find place and to try to get representatives from government, civil society, media, business sector, and to bring them together to discuss about problems that you have or some development steps that you want to take. In Serbia, we had support from our telecommunication agency and from our national register. Also, for developing country, it is important to have equal participation between online and offline participant, because this can be the only way that we can participate in IGF, and I think that IGF have to hear what we have to say and to include us in discussions and workshops. Thank you.
Thank you, Bijana. And now, Norbert, do you want to say a few words? No, not now.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm Norbert Bollo from the Swiss Open Systems User Group. I'm speaking from the perspective of a workshop organizer. I've organized a workshop in Nairobi with a remote participant who actually was not able to connect. It just didn't work. I have organized a workshop here with a remote panelist also, and it also did not work. So I'm very interested in what has been proposed, that there should be a process of dealing with this kind of issue. I would like to submit an incident report. I don't know yet where to submit it. And then I would like to have the ability to bug the people to make sure that this incident report is acted upon. I want to see a plan in place for the next IGF that makes sure that the same problem doesn't happen again. Maybe a different problem, but not the same one, please. So this is something that is important for me, and I would like to say some words why this is so important to me. It is because even though we have a great variety of people here at the IGF, it is still not representative of all the people, of all the organizations, businesses that for whom the internet is very important. One thing that happens is, for example, when you look at organizing a workshop, getting business stakeholder participation, there are those stakeholders for whom the current setup works very well. They make a lot of money in the current kind of environment, and they are very reluctant to constructively engage on changing it. It would be very interesting to get the kind of businesses that for whom this current situation is not working well, and they are not so big because it's not working so well for them. They do not have the funds to send a lobbyist here, so I want to get them in as remote panelists, and if it doesn't working, it simply doesn't work. So for the sake of integrity of discussion, for the sake of integrity of what is happening here, it is extremely important to have a reliably working way to have remote panelists. And I just want to underline what Charlie has been saying. IRC and an audio telephone conference bridge, it may be ancient, it may not be, it does not give you nice pictures, but at least it will work reliably, I'm sure. So please, let's put that in place, and maybe in addition have some nice picture stuff, but keep the ancient, well-working, reliable stuff available at least as a backup, please. Thank you.
Thanks to you, Norbert. We are certainly, I'm not speaking for the remote team, but anyway, we're certainly expecting for some problems, and this might be personal with you, right? Sometimes, but anyway, you've experienced here a solution. Well, it might not be the best solution in terms of interactive participation, but you might take the record videos in advance. So if everything fails, they are here. It's like Bijana. Bijana was supposed to be here, but I think she's not. And so she sent me the video I could share with you. So those are simple solutions. It's important to remember remote participation is not from the organization, is for us, from and for us, and we need to work on that. Let me tell you a little, it's a historical approach we did. We do found the 2008 remote participation was an effort from the Internet Governance Remote Participation Working Team, and it had like 5-6 volunteers. I'm among them, Ginger, Rethik, Bernard. So all of us put together and said, well, we came up from 2007 meeting saying, well, we need to have remote participation, we need to have the chat, we need to have interactive tools. And we put together like participants in the IGF, and we move forward to the hubs model. The secretary accepted, and we keep working on that. We keep working on the training. We keep working on putting our efforts till now, which is more institutionalized as Ginger said. But in a sense, it is not up to the organization itself to solve all the problems. It is our duty, I believe, to follow it closely since the preparation process. And now you can, for example, instead of an incident report, you can share in the consultation process the importance of bringing remote participation, bring this remote panelists and following, and have a process in which you can follow what has been done. Like Shadi, who can share his background and so on. So it is important. And you just missed the one you can complain directly. It's Bernard. But anyway, he was just by your side. But it's not only his fault. I think there are outside factors that we saw here, the loop in the voice, the audio. So we do have something that we should be prepared for that. That's all. Okay? Sorry, I know I have Tracy there. Let me just go back. Judy is asking for a remote intervention.
Thank you, Raquel. I would just like to reiterate that we are in a remote participation session. And so if we could kindly give more attention to the remote participants as to, okay, I'm not saying we keep away the ones who are physically here, but there are a few things that we may need to put in place. Jerry is having a lot of problems getting online. So whenever he interrupts, I will have to interrupt the session and allow him to do that. Ginger would like to say something. Ginger, would you go ahead?
Thank you, Raquel. Thank you, Judy. This is Ginger again, speaking from Wisconsin in the United States. I would like to go back to Norbert's point, and here I would like to emphasize, Judy, how important your intervention was, because I need to intervene in a timely manner. If I wait until 10 minutes later, my segue to Norbert's comment no longer makes sense. Raquel, I disagree with you a little bit in your approach there, because I think Norbert has a very, very important point, and we have already added that to the guidelines on the Etherpad, that we must ensure that the incident reports from any event are logged and taken into consideration for the next planning purposes. We are not assigning blame. We are not saying, I know that Bernard is solving each problem as it goes, but he cannot do it by himself. And every problem he addresses and every problem he solves should be taken into consideration in the next planning process to ensure that it doesn't happen again. This doesn't mean it's the organizer's fault. It means that the IGF Secretariat, Bernard, the remote participation team are addressing to, and I loved the way Norbert put it, to make sure that if at least let's have new mistakes and new problems and new errors. Let's not keep repeating the old ones. I do think we've gone a long way towards doing that, but I would like to emphasize and thank Norbert for that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Ginger. Andrea, go ahead.
Thank you, Raquel. Excuse me, it's early in the morning here too, but not as bad as Ginger's time. I've been communicating with Jerry, and by the way, for the captioner, this is Andrea Sachs, and I'd like to remind everybody before you speak, and including you, Raquel, say your name, because though she may have memorized your voice by now, they may switch captioners, and she may not know it. And I make this mistake all the time, as everybody will testify. So one small piece of advice there. I agree totally with what Ginger has said. Bernard has been a champion. The problem is not Bernard. The problem is the actual tool that we happen to be using. All tools have shortcomings. Our earlier speaker mentioned Adobe Connect. We have used Adobe Connect with mixed results also. There's something of benefit in Adobe Connect, is that the captioning can appear on the actual webcast video, which is what is also a technique that's used in the United States by the FCC. So you don't have to have so many screens. Yesterday we found out from Christopher Jones that there is another one called Gotomeeting, which enables the screens to be actually split into 6 parts on one screen, where you could have sign language on one, captioning on the other, the video on one, the document on another. And there are many ways that people are adapting to use that. And what DICAD is going to attempt to do is to document some of these different changes in applications that these different tools use. There is a problem that if people who are not really fully briefed on accessibility for persons with disabilities, and they provide a chat box, they think, we can do that for the deaf, that's great, they can communicate, but they don't take into consideration the situation regarding the blind. I learned a lot from Jerry yesterday, who was listening, who uses a screen reader. It's based on sound. When he reads something, it is talking to him in his ears. So if he switches from the audio to reading the chat, he can't do it. And the problem is also to try and find the actual box that enables him to join the verbal conference where he can speak. He can't find that either. So there are definite problems. And also when the video was up with Fernando, I noticed something. I'm dyslexic. I didn't know how to get to the chat box again. And all of a sudden, Judy wrote me something, and I saw it flip up there. Now, again, there is something to the fact of training, but you cannot train the world to use each and every conferencing tool. There has to be some kind of standardization, and this is a fine case for standardization. I know we all like to have open software, but without standards, we do not have continuity. We do not have a situation where everybody does the same thing. The classic example, which is very simple, is fax. If everybody uses proprietary or their own specific freeware without taking standards into consideration, your fax wouldn't work. That's just a small example. Through the history of communication that I've been involved in for the last 20 years, I failed to unify text phones because of this problem, even though an international standard was created. Industry refused to take it up. Now, here's the other rub. All these different tools will, regardless of who and what they are, excuse me one second, do unfortunately view persons with disabilities as a small market, therefore not worth.
Andrea, I'm going to try and jump in there.
Yes,
I can speak Jerry here, but with
Hi, Jerry. Welcome.
I give the floor to Jerry.
Yeah,
go.
Please go ahead.
Hi, Jerry Ellis here in Dublin. Delighted to be able to speak to you. I found a way of speaking, but it speaks. You hear me several seconds after I speak here, and as you hear, I can hear me speaking back, so I'm speaking over myself with several seconds delay. It's very, very confusing, but it's better than nothing. I just wanted to give a little bit of my experience over the last few days, and hopefully that will help to identify problems that can be addressed. This is not at all a criticism of anyone, and Bernard and his team have been doing a wonderful job. But I found two things. One, Andrea touched upon there. Because I use sound for my output, the only way I can hear what's happening on the chat is to use the same sound that's coming from the conference. So the two of them are trying to talk over each other, and I can hear neither. In other words, the moderator needs to find a way of communicating other than visually. Okay, so that's one way. The other thing is the tool itself. This is my third day attending this conference, and I've just about worked out how to speak, but I've already described the problems that I'm having. Even when I am speaking, I still hear myself speaking back a few seconds later, and it's very, very confusing. I'm going to leave now. I've really enjoyed listening to this entire workshop, and I wish you all the best of luck, and just finish with agreeing with Andrea about the question of standards. just to say that the International Standards Organization, I understand, has some sort of document before it which has got through the initial stages and is going to go into some sort of committee stage over the next few months. I haven't read the document yet. I don't know what it's trying to standardize, but there is some sort of document there, and when I do find it, I'll report back after this conference is finished as to what the contents are. And thanks to everyone for all their support in the last couple of days.
Hi, Jerry. It's Raquel Gatto talking for the sake of the captioners. And so it's really interesting how you and Andrea addressed, and I like the approach you gave for the issue, because we could go through a real long list of problems and well, things that we could improve, but you did a specific and proactive approach, because it is not only complaining, but it is also putting these efforts together to move to a better way and to create collaborative a new way. And by the way, Andrea, before I go, we have at the room some other participants who wants to speak, but I would like just to know how can we join. You said that DTC DA has a standardization process going on, and if you can share the process by which we can perhaps be interested to join.
Okay, Raquel, thank you. It's Andrea Sachs. Yes, I'd be delighted. I wanted to finish up one quick point. We are actually just working through the problems as we go. You cannot improve them. Industry has to improve them. And training and standards have to improve them. So it's not anything that you have to do. Bernard can catch baseballs running down the hill backwards. That isn't the issue. The thing is, I just want to say, standardization is opening up to persons with disabilities and to the IGF community. DICAD, Dynamic Coalition on Accessibility and Disability, is in fact sponsored by the International Telecommunications Union. They give us a secretariat, web space. We have regular conference calls which are captioned with a chat box in the captioning so that people who are deaf can read the captions and participate. Jerry's comes on it, Chatty's on it, Judy's on it, Ginger's on it. We want you just to go to our website and join. Alexandra is our secretariat who's online. We work with all of you on these different issues, and we will be preparing a report of what happened with remote participation in all the different contexts on the different workshops that we did. We will be talking about what happened in the main session on accessibility for persons with disabilities, because even though Ginger and I can hear and Jerry can hear, the problem is that we were temporarily disabled by the echo. So disability affects all of us at one time or another. And
Sure.
age problem also. Now, the other way you can join...
Andrea, may I ask you, because we are running out of time.
I can just
okay.
make one other point and give it back to you.
Okay.
The other one is the Joint Coordination Activity on Accessibility and Disability. Outside groups that deal with specific areas can join that, and you can also find that out on the website of ITUT on accessibility, and we can provide the website for people if they want to get in touch with Ginger or you or myself or Judy or any of that. But just go to the ITU website, go to ITUT and accessibility, and you can join that and actually contribute to ideas in the standardization process. So you've got two areas you can work in. Thank you, Raquel, and I will give the floor back to you.
That's perfect. Thank you, Andrea, and it's Raquel. Well, it's good. I'm certainly going to join. I hope others at the room and at the remote can join either. But I would like to ask. I have Tracy, Oker, and Shadi to talk, and I would like you to try to focus perhaps your interventions and how can we put and to remote. Judy is calling at me, and how do you put these efforts together? I think Sebastian started, Andrea continued this idea, and I think this is the way forward to put into the real world and the real and the effective remote and e-participation. So please go ahead, Tracy, introduce yourself. And
Hi, Tracy Hackshaw, Internet Society Ambassador, Trinidad and Tobago. I would just like to support Norbert's point about going old school. I sit in several ICANN meetings intersessionally, and the conference call method does in fact work very well. I'm from a small island developing state, and we had a workshop 2 days ago from other small islands. We do have to remember that we are relying on the internet here for these conferences, and that may not be the best approach for several countries because the internet is not high bandwidth in many of the islands. And if we are remote participating via the internet only, then we may have some challenges directly. I'm talking directly into the mic.
this is good.
I'm hearing, yeah.
I'm hearing you. Go ahead. Please continue.
Okay,
It's
sorry, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, what was I saying?
Sorry, you were talking about the islands and how you were using
Right,
the remote participation as. Okay.
So the telephone line, I think, is something that can very well support the webcasting and the web conferencing. And I do think that for several of our participants, having some sort of free number to call, a conference bridge, will be a valuable addition as not only as a backup, but maybe as a primary solution. And the secondary solution would be using the WebEx or Gotomeeting and so on. So I just want to make that plug that that will probably work at every time, every occasion. And the webcast can come as a secondary solution in many of the workshops. Thanks.
Perfect. You brought the low bandwidth and solutions that we need to be taking into account either. So I'm going to call Oker. I think she has some points to address.
Thank you, Raquel. I wanted to go back a bit and to talk about e-participation principles, because there is also one principle which is equality of participants. It means that equal time, we should have equal time for physical participants, speakers, and also for remote participants and panelists. But sometimes I see in meetings or in conferences that people who are physically sitting in conferences and in workshops, they are joining also to remote tools. But maybe we should not do that, because there is, as far as I know, there is some limitation for people who can join to remote tool. But for those who are sitting in conference rooms, they are also joining. So we occupy this place for remote participants. Maybe we should not really do that, and maybe we need to develop some guideline for this remote, who can join to remote participant tools, or how we can use it, how we should use it. So this question was disturbing me really, because I've seen some people who are really physically sitting and joining remotely also. Thank you.
Thank you, Walker. In fact, we do started a process of making some guidelines for remote participation in the IGF remote working participation group. So it's a long name, and it is online. We lost it's igfremote.org, and but it's not updated. So and it's a voluntary-based production. So. If anyone wants to join and try to help us, perhaps rejuvenate this working group, it would be nice. But I'm now going to call one remote intervention. It's from Tim, right, Judy? Can you put hands on?
Yes. Tim, go ahead.
Yes, so I wanted to just...
Tim, can you please introduce yourself?
Oh, yes, sorry, I'm Tim Davies. I was involved in some of the remote participation work over the last few years, particularly social media being part of remote participation. And just in response to the last point on remote participants joining from in the session, that's certainly something I've done when I've been there at the venue in the past, because I think it's valuable to have that shared chat space with remote participants. And when I've been sitting in a session as a physical participant, I've wanted to be able to see who's online so that I can see them as equal participants to me. So I think if there's a limitation on the technology, we either need to overcome that or think about a way of making remote participants more visible to everyone in the room. Because when I'm sitting around the table or sitting here seeing you on webcast, I've got a sense of all the people who are there, but many of you sitting in the room won't be able to see the full community taking part in the session. So I think we need to explore that more. The other 2 points I wanted to make is, one is around the user experience and the expectations we set for remote participation. I've been running a remote hub at my university in Southampton with people who've not experienced the IGF before this week, and just trying to explain to them all the different things they had to open to get on, open the transcript here, the WebEx there, and so on was challenging. So we really should focus on the user experience and draw on that, but also set legitimate expectations of, if you're sitting in a room, you're not necessarily going to get to speak if it's a really busy session. So we've got to balance the expectation of how much input we can have speaking in the session, but also saying social media channels, the chat, the other things are valuable parts of the conversation that should be equal in status to the transcript and recording of what was physically said.
Thank you, Tin. And certainly, Tin was also part of the principal's writing, and he was the one who created the Etherpad and so on. So, and it's good that you brought the social media and interaction in your hub experience. So let's take Shetty, then Jacek, and finally Ginger on the remotes for closing, because we are going to our ending. So Shetty, if you can keep just 1-2 minutes intervention, please.
Yeah, this has been a really interesting discussion, and I wanted to share some of our experiences with using online collaboration. So I think we should really move away from the technical issues. I think there are many shortcomings that we observe from the tool. For example, the issue about limited connectivity or limited amount of people that can log in. This is, I think, more a tool issue rather than a protocols issue. I think we need to institutionalize the remote participation aspect and not have it as something that goes along, beside, and it's a matter of a tool or Bernard doing magic or something. It really needs to be part of the attitude that IGF looks at it and take it very seriously up to the highest level. So just last week we had our annual technical plenary of the World Wide Web Consortium, and even though many of us were sitting in one room, we were still using the chat, actually even to queue. So when somebody wants to speak, even in the room, they will queue up using the chat system. And so the moderator only needs to look at the chat, and it doesn't make a difference if you're sitting in the room or if you're remote. You're called on, and this is, I think, a very integrative way. So it's really like augmenting the live the live discussion, rather than having two separate discussions that somebody like, like Judy here needs to kind of mend the two islands together, but really have it augmented and part. And then I want to raise the bar and say, not only should we have the live discussion, the remote participation during the sessions, but maybe even during the hallway discussions. And this may sound a little difficult, but actually it's not. Again, at W3C, we replace hallway discussions, which we don't have because we don't have a common hallway, by using the chat. So in the chat, you can knock on somebody's door and say, hey, I want to talk with you about such and such. So there are possibilities. We use it day in, day out, but I think it needs serious commitment to making online participation really part of the IGF and really part of the discussions.
Thank you, Shad. Now, Jacek, can you please introduce yourself?
Jacek Gajewski, Internet Society. I just want to say that we should do our best in order to give equal rights to the people sitting here and the people being somewhere. So I don't know who is there in the world, and I would like to know. So I would like to have a screen on which the remote participants are listed, because I might have a question or something. No, I don't see it. I don't see it. You haven't introduced the WebEx. You have introduced the Etherpad where there is only 2 persons. So I have no idea who is answered. And vice versa, for those who are in the world, I would find captioning is a great tool, and it helps. We speak different accents, different versions of English, and here sitting here, I see your mouse. So it's easier for me to speak if you... Okay, you speak perfect English, yeah, but some people may not it. So it's much more important that this captioning is channeled to the remote participations, because they have their quality of voice they see. They don't see our mouse. There are usually some disturbances in the, let's say, transmission of the audio. They should see the captioning.
That's perfect. In fact, one of the problems is that captioning is available, but it's in another screen, so you need to fix into your computer. It's not the perfect solution. Yeah, I know. And
you can easily feed it back to the the
chat
window or to any other one.
Yeah, it's true. So let's.
Okay. Just a minute, Raquel. Just to add on to what he is saying.
Who? Sorry.
To what?
Jacek. Okay.
Jacek is saying. Sorry, my name is Judy Okite. If the same can happen with a video, because the people who are looking remotely are seeing his back, so they might not really know who exactly is speaking. So probably if the video cannot be moved, then maybe the presenter may need to be given the mic and then he faces the video.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. This is a good point. So let's take Ginger's point and then I'm going to close the session, okay?
Thank you, Raquel. Thank you, everyone. Very briefly, this has been very important. I can't reiterate all the points. I'm just thrilled to hear them. We have been making note of the comments and guidelines on the Etherpad document. Tim, thank you very much. He's been a great collaborator there too. You can all join or see the Etherpad document, which we will polish and publish and tweet. Please feel free to contact us and follow up with this. I remind you all, the IGF and remote participation is not a 4D event once a year. We do this work all year long, and we need to work all year to make sure it functions next year. Thank you very much. Thanks to everyone for all your ideas and input, and thank you for everyone who worked so hard on this panel.
So thank you, Ginger, as one of the organizers and the main promoter of the remote participation. Thank you so much for being awake during late hours and in your pajamas participation here. So just as a closing remarks, as it started and the session goes on, it seemed like a consumer complaint desk. And that's good, you know, instead of taking it as, well, what are you saying? Why do you saying? I think we need to take that as a thrilling experience that we can move on, and there are much to be done. Much has been done and much needs to be done. And as Ginger said, I would like to emphasize the Etherpad. I went back to the screen with the Etherpad document. So we could put all this, whether those are individual or participants or organizers, workshop organizers, or even institutions that would like to join, and the Dynamic Coalition on Accessibility, ICANN, PPC, or anyone who could join. I think the Etherpad might be this document, this ongoing document that we can fit in our experiences and our way forward. And I've also shared my email and Ginger's, so we might try to coordinate among us to get the best solutions. So I've no other words than saying thank you so much for all your inputs, and I hope we can have the next workshop bringing on not only principles into realities, but what we have achieved in 1 year. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Sorry, Jude, you want to close?
Thank you very much, Raquel. Alexandra from DICAD says thank you very much from the DICAD Secretariat, Geneva in Switzerland. And she gives a link to DICAD for all those people who would like to join in. We will put that up shortly. Thank you, everybody.
Perfect. Thank you, Judy.